I love my grandmother very dearly, but I like to use her as your average Joe because she's 82. She could care less about anything about politics. She goes by political commercials to decide if politicians are nice or not, and then is stunned to find out they're anti-trans and shit. So I kind of feel like she's a very good barometer of what your average person in this country thinks. And boy, oh boy, did she say one to me last night. We got to talking about what rights disabled people don't have because I mentioned the Kamala Harris comment and how it left out disabled men and men who are incarcerated. Then she tried to go, like, oh my God, she had this whole scenario. She thought they give pills to prisoners so they won't, quote, rape each other. And then when it comes to disabilities, and here's where I feel she's a really good straw man, she immediately went to, oh, what if they're intellectually disabled, as in they really are not able to care for themselves. That's a whole different area. But unfortunately, that's not how the laws work. The 20 states that say disabled people can lose custody and be institutionalized against their will, etc., etc. Just say disabled. That could be a person in a wheelchair to a person with the IQ of a 5-year-old. So it's horrifying. And then she tried to, like, I told her about how if I had a child, they could take that kid away in the state of Iowa because I'm disabled. And say I had a partner and the partner and I fell out and there was a custody dispute, I could lose custody because I'm disabled. And she goes, well, do you think you could take care of a child? I said, well, I mean, as good as anybody else. She said, well, I agree. So I don't think that would happen. Now, look, I'm going to dial in with cats eating my toes, but that doesn't matter. These laws are horrifying, but every goddamn time online when you bring them up, they want to go, oh, well, you know, and they'll use the R word, etc. The intellectually disabled, well, they shouldn't be having children, la. It's like, well, gee, when they literally have no consciousness or they're like a 5-year-old, it's pretty shitty that we have to, quote, fix them so they can't produce children when raped. That's a common enough thing that even my grandmother knew about because she talked about her stepfather's sister. So this would have been in the 40s and 50s, and they did that back then. They still do that today. There was a very big case of a woman in a coma who had drowned as a 3-year-old, and she was alive, but that's it. She's been in a coma ever since. She gave birth because a male staffer raped her. This was just a few years ago. I feel like we should be talking about give pills not to rape people, although I really don't think that exists. Bless my grandmother, but Jesus Christ. And then, if you do get them to get off intellectual disabilities, they go, well, it won't happen to you. You are perfectly fine talking to me. Oh, that probably won't happen. Well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't really care. That's how she ended the conversation. I was like, you love me, it should affect you. I mean, my grandmother has always been my biggest advocate ever since I was born, and I've lived here a humiliating portion of my adult years. So it's not like she just don't care. But if you tell her go vote for disability rights, she's like, that doesn't affect me, I don't care. This is a woman who it took a lot of talking to, but she did eventually go vote against Ashley Hinson for being anti-trans, even though we knew that election was, set in stone because Iowa is fantastic at gerrymandering and nobody cares. So I don't know. It just, the concept, I guess, to me, that if you go grab your average Joe any side of the political spectrum and you say, hey, this is happening in 20 states to anybody labeled disabled, and never mind the whole country, disabled people have no marriage equality, etc. You care about this? You gonna vote against these things? Oh. And I think the most horrifying part is, even if I wanted to shame my grandmother and say, go vote for so-and-so because, they support XYZ on disability, there's not that many politicians who even pretend to give a damn because they know the pulse of the electorate, which is these people don't care about these things. And there's not enough disabled people making a ruckus to make them care. So, yeah, that enrages me. We need to get loud and we need to make them see that we're here and we do vote. And it's very important that we do.